Hello everyone and welcome back. So this is a complete new series and I'm really excited about it because there will be 3 seasons in this series: level 1, level 2 and level 3, whereas you're going to master Java 8 stream and its operations with the help of Spring Framework, because usually when we ask Java 8 stream question is the raw questions, but in the real world when we are going to implement it, we are going to implement it using our Spring projects. So this series is going to help you understand how are we going to incorporate Java 8 stream operations within our Spring project, and you will learn a lot. So now let's straight jump into, as this is the first video of this series, so we are going to basic set up our application. So as you can see that we have already selected Maven, we have selected Java, and whatever the latest version, whenever you are watching this video, you can just opt in that version. By default, Java, Maven and Spring Boot version will be automatically selected. The only thing you need to define is group, artifact, name and description and the package name. And also it's a jar and we are using Java 17, and we just need to add one dependency. Later we need to add one more dependency. We will define it in our form.xml. So now let's download this and let's straight jump into. So we have downloaded this package. It's downloaded in our folder and we will unzip this package. We are just going to import this simple. Let this project load. Now what are we going to do is, what we need to create our packages. So the first thing will be our controller layer, then we will be having our service layer, and one, because this is our first project, so we are not going to create our complete JSON. So here we are going to learn something new. We are going to import our static JSON. So I have already created the JSON. I will not waste time, just have the JSON file. We will just copy our JSON. I will explain this later, but this is, if you haven't watched previous video, you can go and watch previous video, that we are going to create our JSON in our using Pojo. And now we are going to paste all. We missed one thing. Let us rename it this dot JSON. Okay, so the reason we have created this file, right, we can also create this file using our Pojo. In future videos we are going to do that, but for now what we are going to do is we are just going to consider it as a, we have defined our static or a hard coded, you could say, that we are reading from a file basically. This is also one way, means there are certain scenarios when you need to read something from JSON file. This is something new which we are going to explore in here. So we have this JSON file. In this JSON file, which is an array which contains multiple policy information, which has policy ID, policy type, policy premium amount, start date, end date, policy holder name, and policy holder is an object, whereas others are a string. Policy holder is an object which contains the metadata for the policy holder. So this is a basic JSON file. We have two complex things. One is the root element is an array and the subroot element is an object. So now we are going to do is, we are going to read the information from this JSON file, and then we are going to have our service layer, and then we have our controller where we are going to call our API, and then we are going to do the Java 8 stream operations. If you are watching till now, please subscribe to my channel. It will motivate me. So let us first create our Pujo. So what are we going to do is, we are going to create one more package which will be our data, and here we are going to define our insurance policy. Insurance policy class. There are a few things which you need to understand, because I'm not going to, I'm going to come to this JSON file on and off, but for now this is quite basic one. So I'm going to create the object with not having some information. So now let's create it, then you will understand a little better. So we'll have policy ID, and then we are going to have policy holder, Okay, so now you, as you could see, right, I mentioned earlier that policyholder is an object, but here I have created a string because currently in this example we are not going to use it as, we are going to use it in a later state, but policy ID and then start date, and then I think we have our end date also. Okay, so you can see, right, our policy holder we are created as a string. We will convert this in an object in our upcoming videos because you need to understand from the basics. So now we have policy ID, policy type, we have it, policy type is not there, we need policy type also. Policy type, policy ID, policy holder, start date, end date, policy type. We need premium amount also. Premium amount. This will be a long video. Upcoming videos will be shorter because we are setting up the basic of the project. Premium amount. We need premium amount is double. I think. Yeah, premium amount is not a string. Now what we need is we need policy type. We have defined. Okay, policy type is there. We need age and we need region. We need age and region. Age is also long or int. Int. Okay, now we need one variable left, region, which is in a string. Okay, so now we have all our variables. We have, I think we haven't defined name and all, but we'll come back to the later stage. For now, just create our getter setter. You can use Lombok here, but as I said earlier videos, that previous videos, that we are going to use Lombok in our future videos, but not now. We have our true string, and then we are going to define our constructor, all argument constructor, and then we are going to define no argument constructor. Select none. Okay, perfect. So we have our Pojo ready, our object insurance policy object ready, which is mapped to our JSON. We are going to map it. Okay, so now next thing, we are going to create our reader file or reader service. So now let us create in our service layer insurance policy reader, insurance policy reader. So why this class? We need to annotate it as a string. This means we need to annotate it because then only Spring is going to identify it as a bean and then it's going to process it. So now we are going to create a method here, public. Okay, why we need? Because we need to read this JSON file. Okay, that's why we are creating this. System will not automatically detect this file, so we need to read it. So we need to have our list, and then we have our insurance policy object, policy, and then we have defined our list. And then what are we going to do is we are going to define as an empty run all policies. Now we have our try catch block. So now we are going to return null as of now, but let us will return policy. So now what are we going to do is we are going to use object mapper. Okay, before that we need to also do one thing. Object mapper, new object mapper. Okay, we have defined our object mapper. Let us verify the object mapper is coming from faster Jackson. Okay, this is right one. Now we are going to define our policy, which we have defined as a null. Now we are going to read the value. So object mapper. Oh wow, see the benefit of control Z. Object mapper dot read value. Now what are we going to do is we need to get the path of our file, which will be, so this will help us to read the file from this particular path. Now what we can do is we can come our insurance policy, we will come here and we'll copy path, copy root path. Okay, let us see. Okay, perfect. Now we need to define object mapper dot get type factory dot construct collection of type, which is a list, which is insurance policy dot class. Okay, this whole thing is going to read and map it and then store it in our policy object. Now what are we going to do is we're just going to, if there is an exception, then just we are going to return our policy. So now this is done. We have done our service layer. Now we are going to create our service layer. Means this is our service layer for our logic which we are doing for reading the file, and this will be our service layer where we are going to call this method insurance service. This also we need to define it as a service. Now we are going to do constructor injection, insurance policy reader, and now what are we going to do is quickly add constructor injection, and then we are going to simply create one method, public void, it will return nothing, execute. And now what are we going to do is we need to just call our method list. List will be of insurance policies, so insurance policy. Let's give us some space, and now what are we going to do is filter policies equals to insurance policy reader dot policy dot stream. Now we are going to do our Java 8 operation, which is going to filter the policies where premium amount is greater than 1000. So we have opened our stream, then we are going to filter it, and then we are going to what? We are going to have policy lambda expression, and then we are going to have our policy, and then we are going to get premium amount greater than 1000, and then we are going to do is convert it into a list, and then filter policy dot for each, and then what are we going to do is we are going to sys out system dot out method reference, println is the method. Perfect. This is, so here we are doing Java 8 stream operation to filter the policy where premium amount is greater than $1000. Yeah, so now let's create our controller which is going to call this service and minimize our package tab. Now what are, oh no, we need to create controller also, so let us create insurance controller, simple controller. We are going to create it, Java class insurance controller. And now what are we going to do is we are going to simply define it as a REST controller, and we are going to do constructor injection. If you haven't watched my video, or if you're still watching now, please subscribe to my channel. This will motivate me. Just add constructor injection, and now what are we going to do is we are going to create our get mapping. We are not going to have some fancy name, we are just going to have slash v1 slash the policy. Okay, now we'll have our public string policy, and then we are going to define, so just call our insurance service dot execute and return filter. Simple, nothing too special. We are going to make it more complicated but in upcoming videos. So now we have, there is one more thing, this will throw an issue, this will throw us an issue or an error. So now let us run our application. See, Meanwhile, we need, what we do is v1 filter policy. We just copy this and we are going to just paste it in here. Okay, we need to also do one more thing. Our port is, okay, port is 8080. We can also change our port in here. Okay, so nothing we are defining, no param. Let us close it so that it's easier for us to. Okay, so now we will run it, but it will throw us an error because we know we have done one. Okay, it is an error because we know what's the error, because Java string and object. Okay, you see JSON. Okay, so the reason it is happening, let us read the error. Array list HackCS insurance policy policy holder. As I said earlier, right, that our insurance policy, we have defined policy holder as an object, whereas in our Mojo we have defined policy holder as a string. So this is the reason it is showing us an error. So as of now, because this JSON is generic JSON which I have used, and we are going to make it, we are going to understand more in upcoming videos, but as of now you just focus on that, the thing which you are learning in this video. This is also a lesson that you cannot simply read it in a way. This is for beginner, basically those who might have issues while reading a JSON file. So now what are we going to do is simple JSON ignore, which is going to ignore this placeholder in our object. So now let us rerun our application and see what happens. And we are going to do one more thing which is quite nice. Okay, so now let us fire our application and see what happens. Okay, we got 200 and we get our response in our body. It's a simple response, that's not an issue. Okay, we got our policy which is greater than. Okay, let us clear it out and then refire it again. So okay, so we have two policy ID. Policy ID is 1, policy ID 4. Ignore the other information. Start ended is coming, policy type is coming, premium is coming, and the region, age and region is coming because it's, we are not making it properly. So now let us see whether it is correct or not. So we are getting premium amount which is greater than 1200. Come to back to our JSON and see premium amount. Okay, policy ID, this is correct. This is wrong. Okay, this is should not come. This also should not come, and P4 should also not come. That is also correct. So our P5 is also okay. Only P1 and P4 are greater than $1,000. Rest all are less than. So it is not coming. So our filter is, or our Java stream operation is working fine. Now there is one more thing which we need to learn here, because right now we are returning all the information which is unnecessary. We only need to pass some information, or we only need to pass the information. For example, we need to only pass a certain value. We don't need to pass entire object. So because right now you don't want to tell them the ID, but you are still passing it, returning it to the, for example, we are right now just printing it. We can also pass this information to our controller layer and display it in our here. So that will cover up later stages. But as of now, what we are going to do is we are going to learn one more thing here is we are going to comment this out, and we are going to have one more operation which is going to only filter me premium amount. So now how can we achieve that? We are going to have filter policy for each, because it's a loop, or it's an array of an object, insurance policy, and then what I'm going to do is system dot out dot println, and then we are going to, yeah, insurance policy dot get policy ID, and then we are going to have some sort of formatting. Let us, and then we are going to get our insurance policy dot get premium amount. We can now reach each and every variable whatever we want to read. So now let us close it. Now let us restart our application and see whether this will work or not. So the application is getting booted. Now let us create the log and come back to our console and just fire our API. Perfect. So no issues. Perfect. So you could see earlier what we were printing. We were printing all the information, but now we are only printing insurance ID or premium amount. We can also make it a little nicer. Let us Let us re no, no, we need to restart the server. It's okay. Now let us call it again. So you can see this is insurance ID and this is our premium amount. I know this video got longer because we need to cover the basics, because now in upcoming videos we are going to use the same JSON and we are going to learn more on Java ID stream, make it more complicated scenarios we are going to cover. So please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed to my channel. Thank you.